Hello, welcome to episode 36 of Fluffy Fibers, the French podcast in English on sewing, knitting, spinning and living green, all of course with the occasional help of the kids of the house. My name is Isabelle and you can find me on Pinterest, Instagram, Ravelry and Twitter as Fluffy Fibers, and you will find the show notes for this episode on fluffyfibers.com. This is both a video and an audio podcast. The video can be found on YouTube and the audio can be found on iTunes. Hello everyone, I do hope you're doing well. Today is Friday, September the 28th. Friday, November the 20th, 2015. It's difficult to be back, after what has happened in Paris over the past couple of weeks, as you can all guess. And after much deliberation, I've decided not to dwell on the topic here, because I don't think a knitting and sewing podcast is the place for this. The one thing I will say is thank you. Thank you to all of you who've been in touch. Many of you have sent me messages of support and friendship, and it's been very helpful to feel all this love and support, really. And I'm not talking just for me, but for many other people who feel the same way about this. And I haven't been able, and I probably won't be able to reply to every one of you, because I did receive lots of messages. So I did want to give a public thank you here. I think my only response on this podcast, of course, will be just as with, the attacks in January, to be, to craft, more ardently than ever, and just to try very humbly, very modestly, to create my own little corner of gentleness and beauty, really. And I know a lot of you will relate with that. I'm sure all of you, if you're watching this, you will relate to that. And yes, I think that's the only thing I want to say. It's been really very difficult. I don't want to dwell on it because I don't want to be too upset or too upsetting. But the places of the attacks were exactly where we used to live and where my sister used to live, and we were constantly in these streets. And a former student of mine was killed at the Bataclan, which has been very, it's brought it even more home, as you can imagine. So that's not the kind of news I'm supposed to be getting from former students, So that's been pretty difficult. But yeah, I don't want to get political or anything here, and this is not the place for this. This is a happy place for creating and for inspiring one another to create beauty. And I did want to thank every one of you, podcasters, but not only podcasters, everyone who's sharing their creativity on Instagram or Ravelry. It's just so needed, all this creativity, and that is something I've really very much treasured this year. This constant mutual influence that we've been having together. And I'm not just talking between podcasters, although that is a major part, and that's a very wonderful part of podcasting, really, is seeing all the crisscrossing of influences and the way we dialogue from one podcast to another. That's really something very, very wonderful. But beyond that, of course, there's all the inspiration from all of you who do not podcast, but who still create and share and, be it on the forum or through Instagram as well. And Instagram has been just a wonderful source of distraction and of just feeling inspired and feeling that there is so much creativity going on. So today's segment will include my cup of tea, a handmade wardrobe, events, a bit of sewing, a bit of knitting, and something natural, something seasonal, which is a segment I haven't had in ages and that I've been missing actually from the podcast. Before I start, I just wanted to say I've been very, very, very tired these past few weeks, and I'm afraid it may reflect on the podcast as well, but I know you will understand. But if I'm groping for words or forgetting, and I'm afraid I might be forgetting about things, but yeah, that's why I've been really extremely tired. And actually my doctor put me on sick leave very recently for a few weeks, which is a long time, obviously, because I was just completely burnt out. And I'm still working from home, and I'm realizing I should rest, truly. And, but yeah, so just so you know, I may not be my usual super chirpy and energetic self, but I still wanted to put this episode out because I think I do have a lot to share, and it just felt important to do so. So for my cup of tea today, I have my lovely handcrafted mug. I have this blueberry infusion by Cozy. You probably know this brand. It's sold at Meadow Yarn. That's where I got it several months ago. It's really pretty because you have this knitting design on it. I'm not sure how much you'll be able to see, but you have this, pictures of knitting on it, which is very lovely, of course. And it's an organic, I think it's 100%. No, it's got hibiscus, rosehip, apple peel, lemongrass, blueberry leaf, and lime flower in it. And it's 100% organic. So that's quite lovely. And yeah. It's very, very sweet. Really tastes like a blueberry bonbon, which will tie in very nicely with something else I will be sharing later on. So for a handmade wardrobe today, I'm wearing one of my favourite garments that I've ever made, and one of my most worn garments. This is onion tunic. I think onion 2017. I'm not quite sure. I haven't taken the time to check back the pattern reference before I started, but I will be putting it in the screen and of course in the show notes. But it's a knit tunic with an empire waist and some soft pleats here that are very flattering. That mean it doesn't have a maternity style. And so the fabric is a beautiful black and white floral print that Seb gave me in 2009 in London. When we lived in London for a little while in 2009, and there was a fabric shop very near from our place, a lovely little fabric shop. And he got that fabric from there, and I accented it with black binding, which I thought was a nice touch to give it more character, really. And because it's started to be very, very cold here, as in from what I've seen on Instagram, pretty much everywhere in the Northern Hemisphere, it seems like overnight last week, we are all struck with this cold wave after an unseasonably warm late autumn. And so because it's really cold, I'm wearing with it a cardigan, which is more of like a jacket. It's knit in bulky yarn. It's Rowan Big Wool, I think. Yes, Rowan Big Wool. I have another pack of that here. And this is one of the very first garments I made. I think it's the second or maybe the third knitting project I ever tackled. So that must have been in 2011, I think. Probably, yeah. And I call this my uniced jacket, but the pattern is the iced cardigan by Carol Feller, and you can find it on knitty.com, so it's free. And I love this cardigan. I wear it a lot. It's extremely warm. The only problem is it pills a lot. I'm not sure how much it will show on the video, on the camera, but it does spill quite a lot. But I do wear it a lot as well. And it's a single ply. No, it's a 2-ply, but pretty finely, pretty loosely spun, actually. So I think it's 2 plies of a loosely spun singles. So it does spill a lot anyway, but I love it. It's very cozy, very warm, but very lightweight as well. And yeah, so I changed it quite a bit from the original pattern. The original pattern was really a cardigan, I think knit out of worsted weight. And I wanted this big cozy jacket for the winter to spring transition to wear really as a coat, you know. And so I knit it out of a much bigger gauge, and I made it really into a coat. So yeah, I think I should make another one in another colour, because this went so fast, and I was a beginner knitter, and I think I knit this in probably a week or something. So that was a wonderful project. I really, really like it. So for events, the Bonbon Verdure knit along is still going on, and I have decided to draw a prize, as a surprise, because one of the prizes is a very generous project bag up to the value of $30 from Nottingham Crafts, the Nottingham Crafts store. And Sarah also has a podcast which is wonderful. She spins beautifully, she knits a lot, she makes the most beautiful sewing projects. And I showed you this beautiful bag that she sent me last time, which is a patchwork bag. And the reason why it's exquisitely made, and the reason why I have decided to do this drawing ahead, is that I heard on her latest podcast that she's having a huge sale at the moment for Thanksgiving, for Black Friday and Cyber Monday. And the reason for this is that she's going to change the contents of her shop, basically. So I thought it would be safe to have the winner, take advantage of this, not necessarily of the sale, but of the prize before there wasn't any bags left in her shop. So, I drew the winner just before I started the podcast, and using random.org, and it's post number 21 who won, and it's Nelly 1001, who has been a very active participant in the forum. So it's always lovely, and of course it always makes sense, and it's always predictable, isn't it, that people that participate more have a higher chance of winning. But I'm very happy that she did win, and she knit a beautiful red variegated bonbon shawlette quite a while ago. So congratulations, Katrina. I'm very happy that you had this opportunity to win a beautiful bag by Nottingham by Sarah. Very generous Sarah, and very talented Sarah. So I will put you both in contact so that you can arrange the details for that. As for the mini spin-along is also going. Both spin-alongs, both craft-alongs, shall we say, are going until Christmas. Let's say until the end of the year. So, and I'm always just so happy to see your beautiful verdure or bonbon shawlettes, and shawls now, crop up, and it's just so exciting to see them in the variety of yarns that you choose. And I'm also always very excited and inspired to see the minis that you spin for the mini spin along. And for the mini spin along, I wanted to mention the Bakery Bears Advent along that is going to start on December 1st. Because I have decided to start my handspun blanket for this Advent along. So the idea, Kay, got this massive box of opal mini skeins, the advent box that you may have seen. If you're a regular podcast follower, you may have seen it, pop up on Instagram or in some podcasts. I know lovely Danny of Little Bobbins also has this box, and I've seen it several times on Instagram. And so the idea was she wanted to do a knit along for that, and then she wanted to include everyone. So even though you don't have a mini advent calendar, you can still join, and that's what I'm going to do. So what I'm going to do is, I think, probably tomorrow, I'm going to make little bags or maybe little gift, maybe I'm going to, I think, gift wrap my minis and number them. And then I'm going to have, to make my own little advent calendar. So these are all the minis that I have so far. Handspun minis. And what I've decided to do is to do a mixed blanket with handspun and other minis. And I've purchased a few. These are from the Knitting Goddess. They're absolutely gorgeous. I have some more from them, from the Knitting Goddess. I think I ordered all my favorite colors from her. And my idea, I think, I'm not sure how easy it will be to do that, but what I would like to do is try and only source minis that are, ethically produced, like from, local wool. This is from British wool. That is why I love the Knitting Goddess. So I'm thinking about that. I'm not sure how easy it will be to do that, because I'm not sure how many indie dyers provide mini skeins and, in those kinds of bases. And ideally, I think I would want these to be European, so that they are localish to me. Although, of course, if I got some, locally produced skeins from the US, but that were still, ethically sourced, I guess that would make sense as well. So I don't know, but please do let me know if you know of good sources for mini skeins that are, whose yarn bases obviously are, local or, environment friendly, this kind of thing. So do let me know. We'd be very grateful for your tips on this. So yes, and just so if you want to take a little look at my minis. And I spun these in the contrary direction to what we usually spin, because I'm going to do a crochet blanket. And when you crochet, you twist the yarn in the opposite direction. When you work the yarn, you tend to twist it in the opposite direction. So I spun these S-wise and plied these Z-wise. So yeah, this one is one of my favorites. Most of them are from fondant fibre. They are either fuzzlings or relax, and this was a sample that lovely Deb sent me along with one of my orders. I think it's maybe vintage tulle, I think. It's just lovely. Really, really lovely. This one as well is gorgeous. Look at that. Yeah. So, and I do need to start spinning some more. I did spin a mini for a friend, and the package hasn't gone yet, but the package is all ready to go, so I can't show it to you. I should have thought about that and not taped the whole package up before I started recording, but that's okay. You can see a picture on my Instagram feed, and I may insert the picture here in the video as well. It was a very vibrant, rainbowy mini skein with primary colours, so very, very crazy. But I know she will love it. I know she will. She loves bright colours, so I know she will love it. So yes, I'm very excited to start knitting my fingering weight crochet blanket. I'm not 100% sure about the blanket I'm going to knit. I was thinking flowers in the snow, but maybe make the squares bigger, because I think it will be less discouraging that way, if that makes any sense, to have slightly larger squares. And I know our lovely Erin of Holland Handmade, the Holland Handmade podcast, she's recently started podcasting again on a weekly basis, which has made me very happy. And she just finished a wonderful, huge crochet blanket with fingering weight minis. And she's decided to make her squares, and she's just started another one, and she's decided to make her squares a little bigger so that she could make the most of each mini, which does make sense. So actually that has made me reconsider my choices. Maybe I should try to knit a few designs and see what I like best. I also really like the sunny blanket, sunny spread, I think it's called. So we'll see. I do like the idea of, a circle in a square. That's really something I'm into. The previous blanket I made was hexagons in a square. No, they were circles in hexagons, which were very, very fun. So I do like the way in which with crochet you can play with shapes and, have a circle within a different shape. I think that's just brilliant and very fun. So yes, that's it for events and for my lovely basket of happiness. But yeah, I'm very excited about this Advent Along, and so the hashtag on Instagram is BB Advent Along, and they also opened a thread on their forum, the Bakery Bears podcast, Kay and Dan. So that's really very, very fun. I really look forward to be part of this and to follow everyone's progress on their blankets. That's just going to be a lovely run up to Christmas. So now for a bit of sewing, and I'm very happy to say I have been sewing and it's made me so happy. So again, I did sew a few project bags, but again, they're in that package for my friend. So, I can't show them to you. I will show them later, I think, when she's received them. I just moved the camera a little bit. I do want them to be surprised, so I won't be sharing these. I started another one, which in the, lovely patisserie fabric that I showed you a few months ago, which has all, chocolaterie, patisserie, it's all written in French and it's just delightful little tea shops and just absolutely lovely. And I'm lining this with this beautiful cream paisley. And I had to stop with that because I didn't have any ribbon left, but I just got some, last time I went on my haberdashers. So I'll be finishing this very, very fast, very soon. And this is going to be for a lovely friend as well. I'm not saying whom, but I know she will like it. I think she will really like this one. So that's one thing. I made 3 project bags. And I also made this little skirt for my daughter. I mentioned this fabric last time we chatted together. And I'm making this as part of Jenny's Tiny Paper Foxes Make 2 Along. So this is a very simple, I didn't need any pattern. It's a very simple gathered skirt. You cut 2 rectangles. What I tend to do is think about twice the width that you need at the waist. And then you just thread an elastic. And I used a very wide elastic. I think it's 1 inch deep. And I really like this because I think it gives it a lot more structure than a very slim elastic, And yeah, so very, very simple project. Very fun to do. And I make a pretty big hem. A pretty deep hem, the way I tend to do with my daughter's garments, so that, if needs be, we can lengthen it with time. Even though at the moment it's really pretty long as a skirt, but, she'll get a lot of wear out of it. She's very, very excited about that. And so this leads me to a bit of knitting, because to coordinate with this, I made this lovely little hat. So you see how well they go together. This outfit just makes me smile. And the only thing I didn't finish about this is add the little pom-pom, which is a huge shame because my daughter remarked the other day, I had finished knitting this and I said, it's going to be pretty cold, next week. And so you'll be able to wear your hat. And she said, but I won't, Mummy, because you didn't put the pom-pom on. So apparently wearing a pompon on your hat is an absolute requirement, without which you cannot wear your hat. So, so I got this little pompon again at my haberdashers. They have a ton of these fun faux fur pompons in various sizes and colours, and I really liked the grey, the soft grey with this. So I should really get on the game and just sew this in already. It's going to take me, 5 minutes? But yeah, so yeah, that's a little outfit finished for my daughter. The pattern is the Antler Hat by Tin Can Knits, which is a free pattern, but it is supposed to be knit out of worsted weight. And because I used a DK, I used the small adult size, so that it would, be big enough for my daughter. And I did a tubular cast on for the ribbing, which I really, really like now. And so the lovely, lovely yarn is, I finally found that tag bag. Last time I couldn't find it. It's Sweet Fibre, which was a gift from a friend. Very, very thoughtful gift, because so it's Merino Twist DK, and this is hand dyed in beautiful British Columbia, and the colorway is sea glass. And she told me it reminded her of the beautiful sea, the ocean that they have close by. So very, very thoughtful yarn that she gave me. I do have quite a bit of the yarn left over. I think at least half of it left over, which wouldn't be enough to make a hat for me, which would have been really cute. So I'm not quite sure what I will make with it. I'm thinking maybe mittens for my daughter. The problem with mittens is I think they get lost really easily, and I would be heartbroken. And actually this hat is something that she'll be wearing on the weekends, on holidays with me, meaning I'm not going to send her to school with that, because that's a much too high chance of losing it. And it's just too precious. This yarn is just too precious, to be lost. So because of that, I do have another project planned, but just again about the yarn. The yarn is really gorgeous. So it's these, this kettle dyed teal effect, which of course, looks really pretty with the teal in the skirt and the brown. And it's a wonderful yarn, really. Great twist, so that was perfect for cables. And the pattern was very fun to do as well. And yeah, it's just so fun to make these little winter accessories, they're so fun and so fast. And I'm not used to knitting fast things. I think I mentioned this last time I recorded. I tend to knit pretty large projects, so this was pretty satisfying to make. I would love to make mittens for myself as well. But yeah, so last time I was at my little haberdashery, which is La Mercerie. I was with my daughter. She loves going there. She's super well behaved, but she enjoys very much the colours, the fabrics, the yarn, and it's just very fun for her. And we found these little kits for a hat with an animal pompon on top. And so you can see a few here. There's a football, which apparently is very successful, a little owl, a little elephant. There was a kitty as well, but the kitty was very cute, but the colours were not of my daughter's taste. It was very pink. And my daughter, knock on wood, and, until now, she's not a pink fan at all. So there were a ton of options, and we chose this little dog in neutral colours. So very fun, of course, but completely different from what I usually purchase, because it's been a very long time since I purchased this kind of yarn, and it's acrylic. And what I was very upset about when I came home is to find that this is a DMC yarn, which is a French brand, of course. And what I was very upset about when I came home is to realize that this was actually made in China, which is horrible. And why would I knit something if it were to come from China? No, that's not the point for me in a handmade wardrobe and a handmade life, So I'm pretty upset about that. I'm not very, but it's going to be very fun, and she really, really is excited. Every single day she reminds me that I need to knit her out. So it'll be a fun project, you know. And obviously with this heart, I'm not going to be upset if she loses it. Also, I think it's going to be so distinctive that it's going to be pretty easy for the people at school, the adults at school, to be careful about, to associate it with her, you know. So yeah, that's a crazy, silly, very silly little project. In a completely opposite direction, I am knitting from this, you know, acrylic made in China yarn. I am knitting, and I'm very happy with the progress I made on Seb's sweater. So I am knitting the brownstone pattern by Jared Flood from Brooklyn Tweed, of course, and I'm knitting it out of Fado yarn, which I told you about in the last episode. It's a yarn that's completely made in France, with sheep that are raised in France, and it's very locally produced. It's spun very locally from where the sheep were raised, and it's spun by Fonty, which is very proactive in keeping, you know, the spinning activity going, wool spinning activity going in France, and in providing jobs for people around wool. So it's a very ethical yarn in every single respect. It's undyed. The sheep are organic. They are organically raised. It's undyed, and so you get this beautiful colours by mixing two breeds of sheep. So it's two breeds of merino sheep. It's Portuguese merino, which is black, which is the basis for this yarn. And then there's some white merino d'Arles. Arles being a town very nearby from here, actually. And this is a beautiful white yarn, very, very soft. And so it gives this wonderful yarn. It's one of the yummiest yarn I've ever knit with. Really a huge fan of this yarn. I knew for Seb, I had to have a very ethical yarn and a very eco-friendly yarn. So here's my progress on this. It's not going to be easy to show you, but I'll try, because the cable is way too small. It is way smaller, of course, than the circumference of the sweater for now. So I knit the two sleeves, and I joined them with the body. So it's knit bottom up, and you attach the sleeves, of course, once you're done with the body here. And so I've started knitting on the yoke. And you have an opening here because you have a shawl collar. I did lengthen the design, the body of the pullover by, this is pretty accurate as a colour. I lengthened the body by 1.5 inches before I split for the collar. And overall I increased it by 1.5 inches. And that was surprising for me, because Seb is not tall. He's very average too. Yeah. So that was very surprising to me that I needed to do that. But the sweater looked pretty short on the model, actually, and it did look too short to me when the time came to split for the collar. And also, at the sleeves as well, it just looked so too short. And so I did add some length. I really would rather have this, be cozy and long than a little too short. But yeah, so it was a very, very long, tedious knit, to be honest, the body. But it was truly made better, and more enjoyable by this wonderful yarn. It looks rustic and it's dry feeling, but it's not rough at all. It's really soft. It's very substantial, very toothsome, but soft. It's just everything you could wish for in a yarn, especially for this kind of sweater, you know. So yeah, so I'm very happy with my progress. I'm very motivated because I would love to put that under the Christmas tree. That would be a wonderful gift, I think, for Seb. And he's very excited about it. Even my daughter is excited about it. So yeah, I'm very happy to be finishing the year with this kind of project. Finally knitting a sweater for Seb and proving myself I can do that as well. I don't know why I was so intimidated with doing that. I mean, of course it's more knitting, it's a lot of knitting, but it's nothing, you know, when you follow the instructions, it's nothing too complicated, is it? So yeah, I'm very excited about this project. Very, very motivated to get it going. And yes, if you remember last time, I was stopped dead in my tracks because my cable needle broke. So I did purchase some new ones. I think as soon as I was finished recording last time. And I ordered them from Pearlessence in the UK, which is where I got my initial set of Chiago needles. They have a pretty good price for the Chiago needles, more so than other websites I've found. And it's very, very hard to find Chiago needles in France, actually. And they arrived super fast, really very fast. I think I ordered them on Wednesday, and I'd had them on Saturday mornings. We have the post is delivered in France on Saturday mornings. And that was great timing, of course, you know, just before the weekend. So I was able to keep going on that, you know, for the past 10 days. So that's wonderful. Oh yeah, I never mentioned yes, first of all, I'm knitting this on 4.5mm needles, size 7, which I always forget to say. And I never mentioned my stitch markers. These I actually made, these two stitch markers I made ages ago. They're very, very simple stitch markers, you know, with a little string and a little bead, a little, I can't even know think of the name for that, even in French. But yeah, a little decoration, and these I got off Etsy years ago. They're very fun Fimo cakes and donuts. But every single one of these from this set is slowly breaking apart, which is a pity. So they tend to, with time, you know, the shaft of the metal attachment breaks off, or not breaks off, but it slides off from the Fimo, the polymer clay little cake. So that's a shame. I wonder if it's a regular occurrence with polymer clay, you know, with time it can do that. I do prefer, I found this is very fun, you know, these are very fun stitch markers, but I do prefer the metal ones, really. So anyway, that's it for this project. And when I had vowed, because this was very long to knit, the whole body was very long to knit, I had promised myself that when I joined the sleeves to the body, I could cast on for a new project. And I did, and I cast on 4, and this is in my beautiful Holland Handmade Co. bag from Erin, who has the Holland Handmade podcast. And she just put a bunch of her beautiful bags in her shop, and she's going to have a small, what is it called? Small shop Saturday? Is that what it's called? I can't remember. You know, in the US, after Black Friday, you have this small shop Saturday, I think. And so in her Etsy shop, she's going to have a small shop Saturday update, which is going to be pretty sizable. She's got lovely, lovely bags prepped for this. And so her Etsy shop is hollandhandmadeco.etsy.com. And I just can't get enough of her bags. They're just so well made. And I don't usually purchase project bags, but hers I couldn't resist. So I am knitting. Recently the West Yorkshire Spinners came out with new colours in their bird collection, their signature 4-ply. And this is the peacock, and I couldn't resist this colour. It's really colours that I love. It's the peacock colourway. And I also got the accent colour, one of the accent colours for this, which is Blueberry Bonbon. So you see how everything is tied up here in this episode. It was completely unforeseen, but yeah. So, I hadn't knit socks in ages, I think almost a year. And it's really fun to be back to it. I had forgotten how much fun, knitting the sock was. So here is where I am. I just added a contrast heel, and I just finished the gusset, actually, the gusset decrease. So I'm going to, it's just smooth sailing from now. I knit the leg pretty long for me, but because I wanted this to be really cozy. I've been inspired to knit more socks because of the cold that's arrived, and I always have cold feet in the house. So I really do need some more handmade woolly socks. So I decided to make them pretty long in the ankles so that they could be really warm. So it's the first time I'm doing a contrast heel, actually. And I'm really, really happy about it. And I'm using, so the contrast heel, of course, is inspired by Danny of Little Bobbins. She always has the prettiest contrast heels in her socks. And the actual heel is the heel that you can find in Hermione's everyday socks. And so they're my usual, turned heel with gusset. But the variation here is that, and it has the Eye of Partridge stitch that I always love. But the variation is that you have these 3 garter stitches at each edge. And I really like it. And this was inspired by Kay of the Bakery Bears podcast. She really likes it, and she recently posted a picture on Instagram of how neat it looked when you picked it up. And it does look very, very neat. Let me show it to you. So there you go. It does make for a lovely, neat, edge here. I really like it. Very, very happy about it, and very happy about my first contrast heel. The only thing I wish I'd done differently is to put a contrast cuff as well. I'm not sure. I don't know why I didn't think about that. It would have been even more fun. And of course I'm going to do contrast toes as well. And I am using, for the first time, I'm using carbon needles, which came highly recommended by Kristin of the Yarngasm podcast and Molly of the Homespun House podcast. They both love their carbon needles. And I absolutely love them. I really, really do. I'm completely smitten with them. So these are the 2.5mm needles, which is 1.5? Size 1.5 or size G? I can't remember, and it's not written on it. It's only in millimeters. And I think the only drawback to these needles is, as with many of the Knit Pro needles, the markings with the size disappear. And I think I hadn't even knit for 1 hour on it before they disappeared. So that's just silly. I really don't see the point of having them, written on it only for them to disappear after 1 hour's use, But I do hear that on the Zings, the numbers are, I think, laser engraved, which would be great, just as with the Chiagis. So that would be really nice to have, I think. So I really do love the carbon needles at first, because you do have the metal tip that I really love. And they're not super sharp, But I don't need super sharp needles for, stocking a sock anyway. And it does mean you're not going to stab yourself in the hand continually, the way I do with my high sharps, for instance. So that's a good thing. So they do have the metal needle, so that the stitches slide easily onto the needle. And then they have this carbon shaft. The great thing about these carbon shafts is that the needles are warm, to the touch. They're not cold. And I think I've been even more happy about that, because I started this when the cold was really there, and I had cold hands, and it just felt so much comfortable, and they're super lightweight as well. So I was a bit concerned when I first, opened them about the join, because you do have a join, it's inevitable, between the metal tip and the carbon shaft. But it's not at all a problem. It really isn't. It doesn't snag at all on the stitches, so I got used to it very fast. And I have a little stitch marker here that was, again, a complimentary gift from Deb at Found and Fibre. She very often includes lovely stitch markers with your order, along with a little pack of tea, and that does make just all the difference, just when you receive a package from Deb, it's just a gift, really. It's just like receiving a present. And it's a lovely little bee with an orange, like a honey-coloured bead. I love this stitch marker. So, yeah, I'm excited to be back to knitting socks. I will be honest though, I'm just like Jenny of Tiny Paper Foxes, and I'm not, as you will, of course, as you already know, as you've already inferred from the podcast, if you've been following it for a while, I'm not an avid sock knitter. And it's not that I don't like knitting socks. I think they're very, very fun. But I tend to be naturally drawn to other things. I'm very, very drawn to garments, really, because again, my point is to have a handmade wardrobe. So I'm always very driven by producing garments, so that socks are often on the back burner, of course. But now that I'm back to knitting one, I really want to make at least a couple of pairs from winter for me. This pair and another pair from West Yorkshire Spinneys out of the DK base, because I do have their wood pigeon colourway, the DK base, so that I would have, warm, cosy house socks with that. And these would go really fast as well. So, yeah, and I would use the Penny Royal colourway for the contrast hill, which I'll also have. So, yes. As always, I love knitting on DPNs. I'm not a fan of Magic Loop. I'm very awkward with Magic Loop. So, DPNs it is for me. I find knitting with DPNs super fun. Yeah, really very, very fun and fast. So, that is it for this project. And these are my two single, in progress projects since I finished my daughter's, hat. I do have two projects that are planned out. I have the PC cardigan by Heidi Karmeier that I would like to knit out of my lovely Madeleine Tosh Pashmina that I showed to you last time out of the Dr. Zivaga's Sky colourway. But before that, I think maybe I should start my campsite shawl. A few episodes ago, I mentioned that some friends in my knitting group in Montpellier, we were planning a knit along for the either the campsite or the thunderstorm shawl, which are both patterns by Alicia Plummer. And I already have the yarn ready for that. And the only reason why I haven't started yet is that after knitting my bonbon shawl, I was a little shawled out, to be completely honest, because I'd knit the windswept before that. I knit that one very fast because I wanted to publish the pattern fast precisely for the cold that was coming as a lovely, winter version of the bonbon shawlette, which is more a warm weather shawl, of course. And I feel lately I've knit a lot of shawls, and so I just felt like a break from all the shawl knitting. But I think I should really start this because, my friend have started, and it won't be a knit along if I'm not part of it, will it? So, and it will also be a wonderful addition to my, because, again, I'm always thinking in terms of wardrobe, and also, I've been very inspired by the Make Do Along of Jenny at Tiny Paper Foxes podcast, and, it would also look wonderful, this shawl, with the skirt that I plan to make out of my Riley Blake grey and black and fabric, because it's the colour I have is a dark grey, a moody, stormy grey. So I'm thinking it doesn't really matter if I start with the PC or the campsite next, because they are both stormy, moody grey items that would tie in very well, and that would go very well with the skirt. So, it's, how we are, knitters and sewists and crafters, the amount of time we spend thinking about our projects. And as I said last time, I think it's at least have the fun, isn't it, to be planning projects and just be happy about all the possibilities that we can have. That is it for my knitting, I think. Yes. I feel I've forgotten something. Oh, yeah. I forgot to say what I wanted to do with because I do have a bit of fabric left over from my daughter's skirt, and I think it's just enough. It's just enough to make a lovely little drawstring bag, don't you think? And when I looked at my stash of, small quilting prints, I found this, which goes just absolutely perfectly with it. So, I would love to make myself a project bag out of this. But on the other hand, it goes perfectly with my daughter's hat. Can you see that? How perfect that is. So, I'm torn between making a drawstring bag for me or making a little backpack for her. So, I don't know. But I would really like to have some of this fabric for myself as well, so I'm torn. I'm not sure what to do, and I'm not sure I would have enough for two. I don't know, maybe though, if I made a small project bag, I could make another small one for her. If I use this as part of the outer fabric, and then use a simpler lining, maybe I could. I don't know, eke out a couple of bags. That would be really fun, wouldn't it? And it would mean we would have our matching bags, but I'm not sure I can eke out 2 bags out of this, really. Okay, we'll see. Decisions. It would be a really cute outfit, though, if she had a matching hat and skirt and little backpack, wouldn't it? Well, we'll see. I'll see. I'll try and see various cutting combinations that I can come out with and see if it is doable. So, yes, that is it for all my projects. And now I wanted to just have a small something natural, something seasonal segment, because I haven't had one in ages. And it is still something that's very important to me, of course. And I wanted to mention a recipe that Seb and I tried very recently. So on the Saturday after Saturday, November the 14th, when we were all extremely, of course, shaken and grieving, actually, we had been planning for a long time to have a little outing, to go on a date, Seb and I. For the first time, my daughter was to go to her friends for a sleepover. It was to be her first sleepover, for which she was extremely excited. And the idea was that we would go to the cinema and see the latest James Bond, and go to a nice restaurant, because we were celebrating our 15th anniversary together. We had absolutely no wish to go out that day to celebrate. Our energies were completely sapped. Not to mention, it wasn't really wise to be out and about in town. So we couldn't cancel the sleepover because my daughter and her friend were too excited. So what we did is we decided to cook something a little nice and a little different, just the two of us, and then just watch a movie on Netflix. We have Netflix, it's just wonderful. It recently started to be provided in France for the past a few months really now, but we've started subscribing from the first, and we love it. It's just fabulous for us to have all these English speaking movies and series available. Anyway, the recipe, there was a recipe I'd been wanting to try for a long time, and it is the vegetarian burgers from the Minimalist Baker. The Minimalist Baker is a website that has lovely vegetarian recipes, and it was first mentioned. I started to know about this blog from Molly of a Homespun House. She is, becoming more and more vegetarian. She talked about it quite strongly in one of her recent episodes, at the end of her episode, but before that she's been often talking about vegetarian recipes that she uses. And I want us to be more and more careful of, mindful of what we eat, especially in terms of the meat, and to reduce our meat consumption, and to only eat meat that we know, where we know the animals have been treated well. So, of course, that means reducing dramatically. Although we don't eat that much meat, to be honest, especially not meat that we don't know. We always know where our meat comes from and how the animals are treated. But anyway, my point at the moment is to try and show Seb that there are really yummy alternatives to meat, and that it doesn't feel like you're giving up on anything, And this was a great example, because this was just so yummy. So you make the patties with rice and sweet potato and beans. They used black beans in the recipe. We had kidney beans, which was just as yummy. And we made some French fries or chips the way we always do them, which is we just chop up some potatoes, toss them with a bit of olive oil, sprinkle them with paprika, and put them in the oven for 40 minutes on medium heat. And that's always the way we do or eat chips, and it's pretty healthy, of course. And we had a lovely, lovely dinner. We added some cucumber and some pickles, some organic ketchup, and we had and everything we used was organic. And I just wanted to recommend this lovely recipe, which is made with really good, healthy ingredients. And it means you have this burger that is very, very healthy and super yummy. So, yeah, I was very happy that we have this new recipe in our repertoire of veggie options, really. And I have a special thought here for my best friend, who I know watches the podcast, and she is also now a vegetarian, and that's also, of course, set me thinking a lot about that. So I thought she would be interested in that. Wouldn't you, Judy? I thought you might be interested in this recipe. So it's Minimalist Baker, vegetarian burgers. I will put the link in the show notes, of course. And I think with this, it is time for me to say goodbye and to thank you very, very much, very warmly, for watching and for just your presence on the forum or Instagram, and for all the inspiration that you provide as well. And I do hope, if you live in the US, or if you're an American, an expat American, I do hope you had a wonderful Thanksgiving. It's been certainly very enticing to see all the yummy food being shown yesterday on Instagram. And I hope you are all excited about the upcoming festive season. I'm very excited to to, you know, to start listening. I think we're going to start listening to Christmas carols this weekend and maybe start decorating a little with my daughter, maybe, I don't know. And I will be making my Advent calendar, which is very exciting. So I hope all of you is happily anticipating the festive season, that you're keeping warm if you're in the Northern Hemisphere, and that you're not too hot if you're in New Zealand or Australia or anywhere on the Southern Hemisphere. So thank you so much for watching or listening, friends. Do make things that make you or your loved ones happy. Do create things that contribute to making a lovely little corner in your world. And see you soon. Bye.